Good afternoon. I appreciate the invite from the Lima patriots to speak to them today. In light of Governor DeWine's veto of the proposed property tax and budget commission proposals written in the budget by the Patriot House representative from District 65, David Thomas, my speech takes on a whole different tone. My name is Brian Massie. I reside in Lake County, and I'm not running for office. I'm not trying to make money. I'm retired. This is my way of giving back to the community. I operate on biblical principles. I'll never bear false witness. I also believe in the biblical principle of love thy neighbor as a commandment, not a suggestion. I created a 501c3 nonprofit after I spoke to the county auditor's office more than 5 years ago when I wanted to learn about property taxes. They told me at that time, Brian, you wouldn't believe there's over 200 lobbyists here in Ohio that are influencing the legislators. The only thing that we don't have is a lobbyist for citizen. So that resonated with me, and I said, I'm going to create, that's my mission, I'm going to create a 501c4 to expose the lies, deceptions, and the betrayals by the elected officials and the whole government on the average citizen. And as I pulled back the curtain, the lies, deceptions, and betrayals are just amazing to me. And it is amazing to me that the average citizen wants to believe the comforting lies as opposed to the unpleasant truths. My Christian brother Leonard Gilbert and I started teaching about property taxes over 10 years ago. In the past 2 years, Leonard and I spoke to the House Ways and Means Committee and the Committee to Review and Reform Property Taxes. We even rented a room at the state capitol for $50, inviting our representatives, senators to speak to us about property taxes. The only one that showed up was their staff, about 6 staff members. Not one of them was over 35. I started talking to them about the American dream, about how home ownership was the foundation of freedom and liberty, how home ownership allows for the transfer of wealth from one generation to the next. Then Leonard and I came up with the statement that any tax causing a citizen to become homeless is immoral. And we stand by that. And we have been preaching that, I guess, for many years now, and we started at the Lake County Commissioner's office. When I spoke to the House Ways and Means Committee, I told them that if we stay on this path of ever increasing property taxes, we're going to price seniors and those living on fixed income out of their homes. This wasn't yesterday, this was years ago. Nobody even called me to discuss it. When I spoke to the Committee to Review and Reform Property Taxes, I told them that because of this current revaluation in Lake County, the Willoughby East Lake School District was going to make over $8 million in additional revenue without a vote of the taxpayers. Everybody thought I was crazy. Brian, that'll never happen. I said the taxpayers will, in that school district, will pay $201 per $100,000 valuation. Brian, that'll never happen, Brian, no way. I spoke to some elected officials about the revaluation in Lake County, and I says, we've got to get this information out, because what I had done, I had calculated how much each taxing authority was going to get and how much it was going to cost each individual in the various taxing districts. Again, everybody's paying for the county, everybody will pay for their own individual school district, and there may be a library, and then you've got the local taxes. Schools are accounting for anywhere from 60 to 70%. We round it to say, probably 2/3 of your taxes are going to school district, 17% are going to your local taxes. When we issued this proposal to eliminate all property taxes, I immediately heard from our Lake County administrator, and he said, well, Brian, how am I going to pay for police and fire, roads and bridges? I said, Andy, I'm going to pay for those services, but it doesn't make sense to me that I'm paying a different amount for police services than my neighbor, just because my value of my home is different. I said, send me a bill. I will pay for police and fire. I want to know how much I'm paying for police and fire. Because right now, everything is lumped into a property tax bill. I'm paying $2,000 locally for police, fire, roads, and bridges. I said, I want that broken down. I want to see if the local taxing authority, the local government, how efficient are they compared to the other communities? I think we as citizens have a right to know that. When I spoke to the committee to review and reform property tax, and then I told them, pardon me if it's a repeat to some people, but they censored my speech. As I told them about that Willoughby-Eastlake School District, they said that what they did is they played classical music over my talk. When I sent them emails afterwards, they said, it was really just a glitch, Brian. I responded to by Representative Callender, Representative Troy, and State Senator Serino, and also to the chairman of the committee, Chairman Romer, thinking that they would give me the opportunity to get it on the record of what I said. No communication at all. None whatsoever. It then led me to believe, as I pulled back the curtain on that, I said, our constitutional republic, or our representative democracy, whatever form of government, whatever you want to call our form of government, is merely just an illusion. Ron Young is a former commissioner. He was also a state representative. Yeah, I think he had 30 years in government service. He asked me to record him on his last session as a commissioner. And here's what he told me. I've got the video, I've posted it on Lobbyists for Citizens, and I've posted it many times on many articles. He said the two top priorities of government is to protect itself and to grow. The two top priorities of any elected official is to protect themselves and get reelected. No mention of what is in the best interest of the average citizens of this great state. None. Who is stepping up? This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. Who is stepping up for the average citizen? And I'm telling the politicians, you're not going to take my house. Any services locally should not be tied to my house. Send me a bill. If I don't pay it, then you file a lien. Just like I view that just as any insurance policy. They send me a bill. And the reason they don't want to do that, they don't want you to know the cost of your police and fire per person. They don't want to be called out. They don't want to be held accountable. Leonard and I joined with Elaine Cross of Portage County, Keith Davies of Cuyahoga County, and John Mara of Lake County to form the committee to abolish property taxes in Ohio. Excuse me. However, we needed an attorney to help us navigate the Ohio Revised Code. We could only find one patriot attorney in the state of Ohio. Because we called them, whether it's Judicial Watch, Ohio Buckeye Institute, we called any number of them. I was speaking before a Lake County group, and I said, we need an attorney. In the audience was a young lady, her name is Vesna Magic Barisic. She lives in Kirtland in Lake County. She stepped up. Without Vesna, I'll tell you, this movement would not have taken place. No question about it. We could have danced around. She's the one, as they say, brought it over the goal line for us. And I want to publicly thank her for being such an ardent patriot. We just heard this morning that Governor DeWine has issued 67 line item vetoes on the proposed budget. He has eliminated all of the proposed property tax changes and also the County Budget Commission. And remember, the County Budget Commission is supposed to be the watchdog for the taxpayers. They're nothing more. There's 80, every county has one, but they're really nothing more than basically a rubber stamp. In Lake County, the prosecutor has told the Budget Commission that they cannot make any changes to outside millage, whether even though the school or any of the taxing authorities has accumulated massive amounts of money. And that's what I found out. As I, with my accounting background, a CPA, I always ask for public records, asking for 3 to 5 years worth of financial statements so I could determine if I see a trend. And what I saw very quickly, this is years ago, was a trend of accumulation of cash, more than they needed for 6 months and sometimes over a year of operation. Now, any private business owner, they would love to be able to accumulate cash, right? So they start January 1, they got their bases covered for the year. That doesn't happen in private business for the most part. 30, 60, 90 days maybe in cash. Then they always have to have a line of credit with the bank, paying tremendous rates. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jeremy.
Okay.
And I should backtrack a little bit, and I want to thank Jeremy Tester for calling me. He called me yesterday, and I told him he doesn't realize the significance of what he did. We had been just talking that morning about getting Brian Massie out and trying to, how do we get Brian Massie out to talk to groups? And lo and behold, Jeremy calls me. He did that on his own, probably motivated, probably divinely inspired. Back to the governor. When we consider the actions, the governor's actions during COVID, and now with the governor's action to eliminate all of the property tax amendment and then to eliminate all of the Budget Commission changes, we wonder if Governor DeWine is really a communist in Republican garb.
Can I interrupt you a second?
I beg your pardon?
Can I interrupt you a second?
Yes, sir.
Maybe she don't know exactly how many proposals have been in front this past year, have been in front of Columbus
Would you care to share that?
I don't know. Well, hopefully you know that number. It's a big number, I know that. It's like 12, 15 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's, as far as the property change,
Yeah.
I don't know the exact number, but you're absolutely right. There's been a tremendous number, and what they really are doing is, and trying to solve the property taxes, they're just working around the edges. The whole system needs to be
Yeah, I
revamped
agree with
and
you. I just
changed.
wanted,
Yeah,
in case she didn't know, since she's completely on the outside at this point, there has been a ton of effort to some way to solve this issue. It's just been ongoing. So if what you're saying, I don't know what those line item vetoes were. I've seen there 97 of them.
there were 67, I was told this
And
morning.
you're right, if he
No,
struck out all of
They
them.
were not all line item vetoes for the property tax. I'm sure there were, all of them the property tax. I don't remember how many Representative Thomas had there, but there are also probably the County Budget Commission and probably other topics that were in the budget that he wanted to eliminate. So all 67 weren't, with the property taxes, but
he got rid of all of the property
that's
taxes.
as my understanding.
All right,
Now,
so that
I-
puts a lot of weight on him. That makes him,
well, what
we
gov-
could use bad words, but that makes him a
Yeah,
bad
what,
person.
what Governor DeWine, I've got him on record, and I wrote an article on lobbyists for citizens, and that was, he said that when he read our amendment, he thought it was, I think the word was idiotic, or maybe that was some of the other, maybe that was Matt Huffman that said that it was idiotic. And I know Serino is, Senator Serino is saying the same thing, that he doesn't think it's a good idea, but I'll come back to Jerry Serino and tell you what he thinks of the average citizens.
Go ahead, I didn't mean to bother you.
No, that's okay. When I hear Governor DeWine and what you're saying, as a lifelong Republican, this disturbs me immensely. It further illustrates to me, and it's my personal opinion, you may not agree, that's okay. It further illustrates that the Republican Party in Ohio is no longer a populist party. And I'll give you the background of that. I was told by Lake County Republican, an elected official in Lake County. He said, "Brian, you're not a Republican." I said, "What do you mean? I've been a lifelong Republican, voted Republican all my life. Maybe I slipped and voted for a Democrat." He said, "Well, no, you're not a Republican." I said, "Why not?" He said, "You're a populist." And I went home and I thought about it, I looked up the populist, and populism is dealing with the ordinary people. So this elected official in Lake County, without realizing it, was telling me that the Republican Party is not worried about the ordinary people. Now, this will probably tee off 99% of the Republicans, but I don't care. I am willing to stand on the front line for the citizens of Lake County and telling these legislators and the administration, you cannot foreclose and take my home. We're not going to let you do that. Now, they have the option of overriding Governor DeWine's veto. And I'm told that there may be enough votes in the House. But the Senate will be a problem. And I said, well, who are the problem? Senators. Well, you've got in charge of the, I think it's the Ways and Means Committee, I believe. Serino's vice chair, and I think, and it's Senator Blessing. Now, I thought about it, and I said, I'm going to tell the people of Lake County, I've just figured out, when is a blessing a curse? It's when he's running the Senate, and he does not care about the average citizens in Lake County or the state of Ohio. Jerry Serino chairs the Finance Committee. I guess he's also vice chair of the Ways and Means in the Senate. I guess he was just on the Bob France show. And I just, today, and one of the members of the committee called me and said, well, did you hear what Serino just said? And I said, no, I didn't. Down here in Lima, he said, well, Serino has said that Serino thinks that the group to collect all the signatures for the petition to abolish property taxes, they think they've stopped. I'm here to tell you, Jerry, you're dead wrong. Dead wrong. And by the way, Jerry, when I confronted you at a fundraiser in Lake County, and I said, Jerry, we ought to talk about these property taxes. Why did you tell me, Senator Serino, that if seniors can't afford their home, their property taxes on their home, they should sell their home and move into an apartment, because that will also solve the housing shortage in Ohio. Deny that, Senator Serino, because you know you said it. And to the leaders of the Republican Party, do not be surprised if you don't override this veto. You're going to see a mass exodus. Either you're going to be a mass exodus out of the Republican Party to the independents, because you no longer are working for the average ordinary citizen, or you're going to be primary. We need new blood at the state capitol. Let me just try to wrap it up here for you. My one last statement is, many Ohioans are worried about my safety because I'm calling out the politicians. I can tell you that, I can tell the public that I have been told by Lake County public schools, financial officers, they know where I live. Well, I'm going to tell every politician, everybody in the state of Ohio, after I was interrogated for 1.5 hours by 4 FBI agents, their message to me was this, ending message. Mr. Massie, we appreciate what you do. We wish there were more citizens like you. If you ever feel threatened, you first call 911 and then you call us. If I'm ever found in a ditch, it was not suicide. Home ownership is the foundation of freedom and liberty. It allows families to get out of poverty by allowing transfer of wealth from one generation to another. We will no longer be a renter from the government. Any tax causing a citizen to become homeless is immoral. Thank you for signing our petitions to abolish property taxes in Ohio. We originally had a goal of 600,000. Thanks to Governor DeWine, Jerry Serino, Matt Huffman, and all of those that don't override DeWine's veto, we're going to get 1 million signatures. And I ask everyone in the state of Ohio, take this it's deadly serious. They want to price you out of your home and to put you in the stack and pack apartments. Thank you very much. Recommended.